I think we'll get started. Our last session here today on Saturday. If nobody's done this yet from Canisius College, I'm from Canisius College. Welcome. We're very, very glad to have you attending WPCampus here. We're very fortunate to have WPCampus here. Now we're going to hear from Leah Root. Leah is a web developer for the Milne Library. Milne Library at State University of New York at Geneseo, just down the road. She has been around the intertube since the days of Netscape and Mosaic. Growing up during the 1980s, Age of Tron, she was raised command line and learned basic programming on an Atari 400, graduated to a TRS-80. Leah earned a master's in imaging arts from RIT that satisfied her desire to create imagery with a solid understanding of the mechanics of computer rendering by combining art and film history, traditional and computer animation with video production and programming in a Unix environment. She loves WordPress because it combines the best of creativity and code. When not tethered to a computer or mobile device, Leah hikes with her dogs, transports rescued animals, trains in archery and the martial arts. And I will step out of her way and...
Thank you very, very much. I need to put more commas back into that bio. Greetings all. My name is Leah Root. I am the web developer for Milne Library, State University of New York at Geneseo. That's SUNY Geneseo for short, because I use that acronym a lot, and so does SUNY. I'm here to tell you how WordPress saved our open textbooks program. So here's a little story about our beginnings and our struggles, an explanation of open textbooks, why they are important to you, our transition to WordPress, our discoveries once our new site launched, our addition of Pressbooks for publishing, and our evolution into a full-fledged provider of open educational resources, plus what the future may hold. There will be a lot of jargon, but also a lot of humor. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or ask me at the end of the presentation. I'm here. Thank you. So in the beginning, this is circa 2013, our Open SUNY textbook project was supported by 8 college libraries. We had 13 textbook authors, $80,000 in New York State grant funding, and about 4-ish, 5-ish people dedicated part-time to the project. We all wore many hats. Our staff consisted of our digital publishing manager, a web developer, who's me, our library business manager, our library director, and our library tech services director. I worked on numerous .NET and PHP-based web applications, databases, and websites for the library. Our digital publishing manager was also the graphic designer, book editor, XML and CSS editor, and was a publisher. She wore many, many hats. About a year after the project started, our library director took on a position at another library. So our tech services director became our interim library director, and she was also working pretty much full-time on this project. So we had some fun times back then. This was our original publishing model. Faculty authors submit their work, library publishers peer review and edit the work, send it back, peer review some more, edit some more, accepted, layout, design, published, and voila, here's your open textbook. Our technical model was not so much. Our original publishing platform was promoted as a glorious one-stop shop. It was supposed to do everything. As we know, a public platform cannot be all things to all publishers, especially if it does not actually publish. We had a lot of problems with it. The platform was really rigid. Simple layout changes were very difficult. There was no theming plugins or anything to hook into to customize. I spent a lot of my time making changes to template files and even core files to change the layout, add a menu item, or even add an icon. In the background emails there's a whole thing about adding a simple icon for EPUB, which is a pretty important file format for us, but no, it was difficult. And believe me, I know, never hacked the core, but I had to. I'm sorry. Adding another administrator is pretty standard for a web-based platform or CMS, right? Not with this one. This was a bunch of basic tasks, had to be done through a database query. There was no front end for it, nothing, no way for an average user to do it. So I had to do this. We wanted to track downloads and in-page clicks for Google Analytics or any kind of analytics. But the platform rewrote all our URLs for pages and book files and even removed file extensions. So we kind of didn't even know what the heck our files were anymore. They were extremely difficult to track. We couldn't even find them on the server at times. Pretty crazy. I had to rewrite the code in order to stop the platform from rewriting code and keep our URLs. Jeez. We had errors upon errors upon errors from authors, editors, and our own staff. It was extremely frustrating. I spent more time tracing and fixing errors than I spent doing any kind of publishing, let alone improving the platform itself. So finally, this was the last straw. The platform dev support was difficult to access at best, useless at worst. I got kicked out of a dev help forum before I even posted any questions. Go me. We had an additional challenge of trying to explain what our project is about in order to gain financial and faculty support. Now, we all knew what it was about, but to most folks, the project sounded something kind of like this. Had enough? So we had to come up with some terms and descriptions in English, human English, to explain open textbooks. These are some of the things we came up with, which are true and awesome. Authors retain ownership of their work via Creative Commons licensing. Basically, they're not locked into contracts. They can resell or remix or have their books published by all different means and monetize their works. They can't get sued either. That's a big one. All or parts of textbooks can be used in different curricula or even for personal use, so you're not tied to a textbook for your class. It's pretty cool. Textbook content can be remixed and redistributed. This is extremely important. Because of the ability to remix, textbooks can be updated without having to publish an entirely new edition. This saves a lot of time and a lot of money. In the past, if a textbook had one error in it or outdated content, you'd have to get an entirely new edition. Textbooks can be made accessible and viewable worldwide. They must meet accessibility standards. Textbooks can be viewed on mobile devices as well as on desktops and laptops. Textbooks or parts of books can be downloaded and printed as needed in a whole variety of formats. Now, most importantly, and understandable to everyone, textbooks are free or extremely cheap compared to traditional hardcover or even softcover books. Students and their parents, remember parents, do not have to spend a ridiculous amount of money on a textbook, only to get maybe half of it back if they resell it. This is extremely frustrating if only a couple of chapters are used during class, and this does happen a lot, as we all know. No longer would students be hesitant to enroll in classes because they can't afford a textbook. I was at an open textbook conference in 2015 in Vancouver, and our cousins to the north of us share the same struggles that we do as far as funding and access to textbooks and student debt, et cetera, et cetera. The statistics were very alarming to me. I carry them with me all the time because it took this to really get it to me, what the importance is of open textbooks. So, with all that being said, we really needed to get this out and open. For our project to gain faculty and financial support, we needed to prove it's a needed and wanted service for students, authors, professors, and the public at large. We needed real statistics, not this seizure-inducing gibberish here. We needed locations of people downloading books, types of books downloaded, trends in downloads, and how the books were being used. We needed real statistics. We were all extremely frustrated with the platform we were currently trying to keep alive. Plus, we had limited funding and limited time. We started looking for alternatives. Our library had used WordPress for other projects and initiatives. I had many years' experience building WordPress sites in my past life as an independent contractor, and some of them were very complex. I was familiar and absolutely loved the flexibility of WordPress. So I took a risk and suggested to set up a demo showing that WordPress could handle all the things we needed in order for our project to succeed. Our exasperated staff gave me the go-ahead, so I deployed. I ran a 5-minute install, so we know it's not usually 5 minutes. I spent a few more minutes importing whatever XML, content, and data that I could get in from the old site. Back then, I don't remember which theme it was, but I made a child theme, either 2011 or 2012. It was basic, no frills. I demonstrated the ability to show off featured books, the ability to add widgets and content just about anywhere. And these things seem pretty basic now, but compared to what we were using before, they were just awesome. I demonstrated the human-readable, analytics-friendly awesomeness of WordPress permalinks. This was key to us for our URLs. I also demonstrated the ability to add different download types for individual books. In the past, it was impossible for us to create our own request forms using the old platform. I had used GravityForms in other projects, so I showed what GravityForms could do. We could use GravityForms built-in fields like date and time pickers, name, URL, and email address. With a little bit of function code and regex magic, I could restrict the fields to a specific type of email address, like a .edu, a course prefix, a letter, or a number pattern. This is extremely useful to us for formatting data from a number of different universities and sources. Form submissions are accessible within the WordPress dashboard and can be downloaded into spreadsheets. Well, my demo was approved, which is great, but that was just the beginning. I still had plenty of work to do. Our digital publishing manager came up with some neat layout ideas. I took a free bootstrappish theme and sliced, diced, and gridded it up to match the design. Here's just an example of the different views, portrait, tablet, desktop, of how a book page looks on our site currently. I also created custom widgets and areas for our individual book information. I also created collapsible content areas for table of contents and author biographies. Many of our book abstracts are long, never mind the titles. This is academia after all, so I figured that the reader should have the option to see additional lists of information, not be overwhelmed with a ton of text. I used existing WordPress tags for keywords and subjects, added fields for authors and co-authors, and kudos to the Co-Authors Plus plugin, and created taxonomy for SUNY affiliation. I connected our SUNY affiliation taxonomy to our GravityForms, so people could select their SUNY school when filling out requests. And again, this may seem like basic stuff, but compared to what we were using before, it was just amazing. I created custom fields for EPUB and PDF download file types. I created more fields for third-party publishers like Amazon, iTunes, Google Scholar, library-specific metadata like OCLC and ISBN numbers, because that is incredibly important to us for cataloging, and also for Creative Commons license types. I installed the Download Monitor plugin. This plugin pulls from the logs of the server. It logs date, time, browser, OS, IP address. It logs downloads from PDF and EPUB custom fields for each book. The files can be uploaded and replaced as needed with versioning, and the counts will still remain intact. Plus, this plugin allows us to create reports of download counts on the fly and export to spreadsheets. It also tracks errors in downloads if a download is incomplete or if someone has tried to get to the site and cannot, and differentiates that from hits or spam bots and such. So it's a pretty powerful plugin. Here is our workflow. The user can add a textbook description, add keyword subjects, select from single or multiple authors, and even they can arrange the order of the authors. And we have found that that was incredibly important because sometimes authors really absolutely have to be first on the list on the textbook, especially if there are 20 authors, so that you can imagine the cat fights about who's first. The user adds SUNY affiliation, table of contents, author bio, and metadata. And this is all through custom fields. They can upload PDFs and EPUBs, drag and drop style, through the media uploader. So it's a very similar experience to adding files. It's specifically a download and upload type of a custom field. Add a URL for external publishing sites. And we use the existing published date, but instead of the date that it was that we're making the post or book, it's the publication date of the book. So we're using stuff that exists already within WordPress for our own stuff. I added the download monitor and Google Analytics dashboard widgets and customized them for what we needed. So also, on top of all the other cool stuff, the users can see stats conveniently when they log right into the site dashboard. We wanted to show PDF and EPUB combined download totals on our individual book pages. This is pretty big. Our thinking is this: bigger numbers look better to those whom we wish to impress and get money from. So we figured combine the totals. So I wrote a query that does just this. It takes the count values from the Download Monitor plugin and associates them with the respective test book. I tested this with raw SQL first, then sanitized it the WordPress way. I created a function using this query to dynamically display the count of the textbook title that's being viewed. And then I put a function call into the book template. So basically, the counts for the book match the book. It's pretty cool. Now, here comes the even bigger query. I wrote a query that returns EPUB and PDF individual totals, plus daily and monthly averages. I then grouped the query by the textbook title. Now, WordPress has changed taxonomy structure since way back when, version 4.5. The query's been working perfectly so far, despite the changes. Part of me feels that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but that's not right. It's on my to-do list anyway, to fix it, change it, streamline it, unbigly it, etc. So I created a statistic page template and coded it to display the statistics just the way we want them. Plus, I added a bonus Google Analytics GeoIP map. The map just shows the hits of textbook pages. It's not tracking the individual downloads, just the hits. But all those dots looked really cool to those whom we wish to impress. Before the official launch, we needed to ensure that other institutions and websites had our updated URLs. So I did a lot of htaccess rewrites from the old platform to our new site. I also used the redirection plugin to catch any URLs you miss, because it's amazing the kind of combinations of URL mix and match stuff people can do, especially in academia. Our official launch was February 1st, 2015. Almost immediately, we started receiving human feedback. We were now getting quality and quantity feedback. Professors were grateful for our service. Accomplishment of the day. I received an unexpected applause from students when I announced that we would use a free Open SUNY textbook. This just spoke for itself. Like we were in tears. It was just awesome. The Twitter universe became full of Open SUNY textbook recommendations and thank yous. Tweets kept piling up and piling up. We were being promoted all over the world, and most importantly to us, all over the SUNY system. Now that we had stable statistics from both Google and my Bigly query, we were able to extract that data and analyze it. Here are some of the interesting things we discovered early on. The majority of readers are still using traditional desktops or laptops to read books. This is over mobile devices. Windows is the most popular OS for desktops and laptops. iOS is most popular for mobile, and phones are still used more than tablets. We noticed the PDFs were still more popular format than EPUB. This is possibly because people are still downloading and reading with traditional computers. PDF readers are already installed in most desktops and mobile devices, and possibly because EPUB is not as a familiar format as PDF, which is sad, sniff. But here is a further explanation of EPUB and why it was so important to us to see how people were using these and reading these, et cetera, et cetera. EPUB is an open file format for ebooks. It can be opened with almost any ebook reader except for Kindle. Kindle's its own thing, so, you know, whatever. The most important feature about EPUB is that it's reflowable, which is excellent for accessibility. The reader can control the font size, font color, font type, even the background color for high contrast, low contrast situations. Some EPUB readers even let you add annotation, notes, highlighting. It's an open standard, which makes it easy to be used if you do know it exists to use it. And it's open and adaptable, which PDF is not. The PDF is just more, it's ubiquitous. EPUB is slowly catching on. It's more popular now than it was even a few years ago. So we have faith in EPUB. Back to our discoveries. We found because of authors' freedom to distribute their works by other means outside of Open SUNY textbooks, we noticed our book URLs were showing up in many places in addition to third-party sellers like Amazon and iTunes. They were being cataloged in other libraries and directories all over the world, blogs, curricula, textbooks, you name it. We also noticed patterns of peak download times. Usually they coincide with the launch of a textbook, of course, the beginning of a course or semester, or the beginning of a month. Here is a really cool anecdote. We were noticing numerous hits and downloads from Ghana, Liberia, and Nigeria, all for a very particular textbook. Drum roll. Guidelines for improving the effectiveness of boards of directors of nonprofit organizations. Deep breath. Because of some of those countries' reputations for spam, we kind of figured something weird was going on. We had IP address blocking and spam protection in place, and I was thinking I might have to add some more IP blocks. We did start getting emails and panic requests from people from those countries saying that they were being blocked and wanted access to our books. We did some investigating and figured out this was not spam, this was not embezzling, this was nothing fishy. This textbook was being used by nonprofit groups in that region. The textbook was part of a Coursera massive open online course, a MOOC. We did not even know this till we found this out. It was awesome. We were massively, openly happy to learn of this. So, at this point, we had SUNY schools and authors knocking down on our doors, wanting to get part of this, join us in some way. We really thought we were on top of the world, conquered the open access universe, etc. We still had a few things to iron out. kind of like this. We needed help with our textbooks, the actual publishing part of the textbooks. They were still being designed, edited, and styled, and accessibility checked by hand. We were using InDesign, Calibre, Sigil, and a host of obscure Linux and Python scripts to try to publish these books, get them accessible, etc. It took a lot of time on our digital publishing manager's part, as well as on my part. InDesign did not handle EPUB publishing very well, even though they claimed to do so, but it's another story. We also had trouble keeping styles consistent with PDFs. We also had many math and science textbooks that used LaTeX and other math symbols, very specialized fonts. None of our suite of tools could properly handle them. So we had all these books just waiting to be published, but we couldn't. So then, we heard about Pressbooks through various conferences and conversations. Pressbooks has a familiar interface, similar to WordPress, but with many more options. Pressbooks publishes PDF, EPUB, EPUB 3, XML, and web HTML read-online formats. We were really like, at the time, this can't be real. Seriously? Wow. But it's true. Pressbooks can be integrated with other WordPress sites via API or via WordPress feeds. Plus, really important to me, it has an active developer community. I've actually contributed code back to Pressbooks core. They answer questions, very friendly. I haven't been kicked out yet. Yay! So we decided it was time to initiate change once again with Pressbooks. We did face a few challenges from within our own college. Pressbooks needs its own dedicated or virtual server, and we wanted to host it locally. Putting it mildly, some of our college IT department did not support WordPress at the time. And my own dog there makes an appearance there. My own dog's the most skeptical of all. He's amazing. Okay. So our solution, we requested an XML print publishing server, blah, 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 blah. We were given a headless Red Hat Linux server for XML print publishing. So I went in, command line commando. I installed Java, XML lint, prints, EPUB validator, and all the fonts and math symbols we wanted and needed. Old school cool. I installed WordPress using WPCLI, network activated it, and then installed Pressbooks. We were finally on our way. And that computer there is at the Battleship, New Jersey. I think it's a Hewlett Packard with a 5 1/4 floppy drive hidden there. It was once used for tracking, Tomahawk missiles. It still tracks the ISS space station. And I just thought that was really old school cool. Yeah. So, anyway. So we were on our way, and this was our reward. Here's an example of the beautiful books that Pressbooks can publish. We can finally be able to publish works with complex tables, graphs, LaTeX, and math symbols. Rich imagery, footnotes, elaborate captioning, music notation, custom page layout, even embedded video and interactives that we are still working on making accessible, but we can get them in there, which is really cool. Plus block quotes, photos, and charts. Just amazing stuff. So now we have a publishing system that actually publishes. The launch of our new site, publishing service, and quality of our books impressed everyone. We had several meetings with representatives from other colleges who were on fire about open access and open educational resources. We started growing. We were becoming a statewide consortium of people who wanted to publish and serve open access courses, learning resources, in addition to textbooks. So once again, we decided it's time to initiate some change. As any organization grows, there is a need for thorough communication, organization, and project management. In the beginning, we kind of had none. So that was kind of our communication at the time. To keep everything organized and make sure that no one leaves, I set up an Airtable account. Airtable is a cloud-based relational database for all our books, courses, schools, and people. I did check this out. It's 256 SSL encryption. We have no data on there that can't already be found on the internet, like email addresses and titles of books and things we pretty much want to be found anyways. But we found it to be extremely useful. It allows us to share and organize data amongst all our SUNY campuses. There's a lot of our campuses are all LDAP or all self-contained, so we needed a system that was outside of SUNY in order for everybody to share data and collaborate, organize, etc. What's cool about this, it also shows us things like how much money we're saving. Very cool. Skipping. GravityForms entries are already automatically added into Airtable records, which can be sorted and given different views. This really, really helps us with organization. It makes it easy for everyone involved across SUNY to track requests and the status of requests. We have now partnered with Lumen Learning. Lumen gives us more exposure for our textbooks, plus their catalog uses a modified version of Pressbooks. We can also build and store open educational resources with Lumen. These things can be video, slideshows, charts, graphs, other things that can be incorporated into any textbook or any course. We now have an executive director and an advisory board. This comes a long way from 4-ish to 5-ish people that we started with. Pretty amazing. 27 campuses are actively involved with us now. All 64 are interested or in planning stages. We are now able to expand our service offerings and actually market ourselves and be taken seriously. Some of our current and future plans. With Pressbooks, we are starting to use Pressbooks for all of our library and college campus publishing projects. These things include library journals, historical reprints, works by local authors, textbooks that are outside of the Open SUNY textbook scope. I also want to turn our Pressbooks homepage into a portal, something showcasing all these projects, because right now it's pretty boring and ugly. So I'm not going to show it to you. It's on my future plans to-do list. We want to use the WordPress API to handle sharing book content, URLs, and information to other sites. The WordPress API, as you know, is still new, being developed, etc. I wanted to learn more about it. Part of my learning was experimenting with it. I built something using our library news blog to show posts on our library Drupal pages, and also on video displays throughout the library campus. After some trial and error, I made the feeds and consuming scripts work successfully. We can even tag posts for different purposes. One post can be on the main library Drupal page, another can be on an inside library display, another can be on an outside library display, all being fed from one pretty original, no-frills WordPress blog. Pretty cool. So I figured after that little, in quotes, experiment, I will work on making Pressbooks feed our books directly to our Open SUNY textbooks, Open SUNY OER site, all our publishing project sites, any Drupal page we want or can do that too, and any site outside our library and Open SUNY textbooks that utilize the WordPress API, which is pretty cool. Now, though, we really have to brace ourselves. WordPress 5 is going to bring major changes to plugin dependencies, handling custom fields, content blocks, and other fun stuff. I'm on the dev feeds and groups, haven't been kicked off any yet. I'm watching the changes, just to be aware. We know we're going to have work to do. I plan to do a lot of changes to the queries and custom fields anyway, and shift away from plugins as needed. I know we're kind of all in that same boat, so we're all in that same boat. But for now, we can rejoice. Open SUNY Textbooks has evolved into Open SUNY OER services, thanks to WordPress. As of July 14, 2017, last night, we've had over 239,000 downloads from our textbook site since our launch on February 1st, 2015. There were times we didn't think we were ever going to see this day, or a day like this, honestly. This week, this past Monday, July 20, 2017, we released 2 new books. The History of Our Tribe, Hominini, by Barbara Welker, Associate Professor of Anthropology at SUNY Geneseo, and Exploring Movie Construction and Production by John Reich, Adjunct Instructor for Film and Communication at Geneseo Community College. And they both already had hits and downloads. It's slow because the semester hasn't started, but we know they're going to be coming in. We've had nearly $494,000 in student savings, nearly 4,600 student enrollments, and 27 campuses engaged. So I'd say we're doing a darn good job, and we can dance like bananas. But it's time for change once again. Our project is growing, and we need you. We need your mad WordPress skills. We need your help. With 5.0 and many more campuses on the horizon, we are going to need more developers and consultants. We are interested in those with WordPress front and or back end development skills, database skills, and higher end and OER experience. And bonus, there is money available. We've got money and cookies. If you are interested or know anyone interested, please see me. Contact me via email or Twitter, and I can put you in touch with those who you need to get on board with. So it's time to initiate change. We have this awesome program, Launch OER on your campus. Pretty cool. And as a sort of addendum, I have to say, I referenced the original Tron movie in my biography, so I had to add one of my favorite quotes from that movie. It's very fitting for our project, and because I work in a library, I have to cite my sources, as you can see up there. There are no problems, only solutions. So find me and contact me. Thank you very much. Oops. Questions? I believe this is still sharing. I hope so. I had some music to play, but I think not enough. Questions?
Is it part of your press to actually print any of these textbooks or make it available for print? And how does that work out?
That's a good question. The question is it part of our platform to make our textbooks available for print, and how that works? Well, Pressbooks allows us to, PDF is the most print-friendly format out of all the formats we can. Since a lot of this is geared towards the student and also the faculty, if they're printing out notes or whatnot, they can print at will on their own printers. As far as publishing, like an active book, I believe we use our campus. We also use Amazon for that, so we don't do that actual printing in-house as far as I know. I know some of our authors do have their books published with Amazon, and you can get a print copy through them, or there are other things. Lulu's another one. So we don't directly print those books. The service is done. Like I said, I'm pretty sure our print copies are done through Amazon, since we have the option to use that. But as far as like general printing, you could print a copy of it yourself. It just won't be as nice and fancy. But
So when someone does print it, what media type are they using?
usually PDF. If somebody, that's just the most common format. If someone wants to print their book for their own use, they will usually use PDF. That's pretty default. No, they do it themselves. You download the book and you just print it, send it to print on any printer you want to, which is one of the beauteous things about open textbooks is you can do that. Don't have to pay. Don't have to get sued either. Thank you. It's a really good question. Any other questions?
I think writing a textbook would be very, very difficult. Do you have a sense for what motivates faculty to write a textbook?
The ones that have talked about that, it comes from frustration of using like prefabbed, it's not the right word I'm trying to say, but kind of having to be stuck teaching to the textbook. Especially a lot of the research faculty, if they have things, concepts they want to teach, or they feel like they have to teach the textbook and then like add their own stuff. So with many of them, they're like, why can't I write my own book? Like one of our most popular books is a textbook on web development. He wrote it himself. He teaches the class to it. It's a very well done book because you can download pieces of it and it's got interactives and tests and things you can do to it. So my sense is actually just frustration because they want to have more control over what they're saying and what they're teaching from and they do a better job themselves, basically. And thank you. And I should have repeated the question. The question was, what is the sense about the motivation for faculty to want to write their own textbooks? Thank you.
I have a question, but just a response might help on that. Because writing a textbook is a heck of a huge job.
It is.
But along those lines, I don't know if you would call it a spin-off, but some of the people involved in creating press books have now also created a thing called Rebus Community, R-E-B-U-S, community.org. It is essentially, you can kind of think of it as cross between a forum, not really social network, but it's basically matching and getting together professors from different institutions to collaborate on a text. You know, like I'm getting started on an effort with them because we need a text. We need an open text on a very elementary level on economic systems. But you know, I could contribute a chapter or two. But we're looking for other folks, and that's one thing to do. The other thing I'd mention is, you mentioned the conference in Vancouver that you went to 2 weeks ago. If anybody here, especially if you're new to the OER type stuff here, the major conference in the US is called Open Ed. Mm-hmm. It's in the fall. This year will be in Anaheim, October 11th, 12th, 13th, I believe. It usually flips coasts from year to year. So, that would be we'd love to see you there.
Will do. Thank you. I know in our department, some of the librarians go to Open Ed. I may be going this year with them. They go for different reasons and whatnot. And I know it was 2 years ago that there was the Open Textbook Summit at WPCampus, which was just amazing, profoundly cool. And I remember Hugh McGuire, one of the founders of Pressbooks. He was started.
Yeah, Hugh started Rebus Community.
Yeah, Rebus Community. They have a paid version of Pressbooks, like kind of like WordPress.com, where you can host with them, and they'll take care of all the technical stuff and all that stuff. But for various reasons, we have our own self-hosted Pressbooks, mainly because we don't want to be tied to anything and just kind of do our own thing. It may be more work as far as maintenance, but that's fine with us. For me, that's what I do. But this is good. I would like to come to Open Ed for sure. Next question. Yes.
You had mentioned that plugin that monitors the downloads and counts them. Is that a plugin that's available? And how modular would it be to apply it just to PDFs on the website that are stored in the media library?
It is available. I can, let's see, direct you right to the site. I know there is a free version and a paid version. The paid version just gives you some more, I think, like paid views, because it's the plugin is actually tailored a little bit more to like they're thinking about like music downloads, digital downloads, that sort of thing. But it's totally customizable for what we needed. I believe it's Dev 5. They're out of the Netherlands.
Okay.
This is called Download Monitor Plugin, and they've always been really responsive. It is, I'd say, modular, in you can customize the type of download and assign some property to it. Like this is a PDF, this is an EPUB, this is some kind of MP3, that sort of thing. It just basically pulls from the log files. So you do have to clean out your logs once in a while because you can get huge log files. And it does allow you to sort, organize things. I had to write the queries to pull from that and do the sorting, arranging for what we needed it for. But you could totally use it. You could totally use it for that. And it's, I don't know what their plans are for WordPress 5. I don't know how that any of that stuff will be affected by it. But what it Download Monitor gives you the ability to make like template tags and codes that you can put in your template and assign, like if you want to create a button or have a little piece, you know, a link, it will can create a custom thing with that with the Download Monitor plugin, and that's what helps you track it. It's basically like this little link here, that's the link to download, and every time you click that link, that is what gets tagged according to. And also Google Analytics will note that too. It's like it doesn't interfere with Google Analytics at all. In fact, it just supplements it to us. It gives us more refined statistics about the particular downloads that we're looking at.
That's what I've got a group that does handouts for disability studies and for the community, and they have to report back how effective these communications are, how many people are downloading them. And Google Analytics is what we're using now, but they would like something like this that would actually give them credible, we know that this was downloaded in full kind of data.
Yeah, that's one thing is I've been to some of the seminars and I've seen that Google Analytics, the tag managers advanced a lot since like 4 years ago. And because maybe we would have tried to stick with that 4 years ago. But like I said, no time, no money. We had to get something together, and that's what we found. But I do find Download Monitor is really good for, it will log like errors. It will take errors, so that way you'll see like if there's repeatedly errors from in one area or an IP address or something, it can at least help you figure out what's going on. And then also if somebody emails and complains, because believe me, they do about that, then you can sort of match up, okay, this was this person and this is what might be going on. It helps you do that. And we do find that to be very important. Not everybody would find that important, but like for your uses, it would be important. So I'd say go for the plugin and tell them I sent you. No, I don't know. It is a good plugin. It is a good plugin. Is that I'm admittedly, I'm kind of a little wondering about what's going to happen in the future, but then again, we were wondering what was going to happen in the future 4 years ago, and here we are. So it's pretty cool. But any other questions?
Sorry, I know we're over time.
Yeah.
If you don't mind. I don't know a lot about EPUB, but my understanding is that EPUB 3 added a lot of new features and really changed the format. Is there any reason to hesitate in publishing to EPUB 3?
So far we found is unfortunately the readers haven't caught up with EPUB 3. It's been that frustrating thing where like all this cool stuff is there, but there's nothing there to get it and read it properly and translate it yet. We had it for a while. We maintained a list of all the best readers for different devices and that sort of stuff. And I know it's probably out of date now, but my understanding is that there just aren't enough EPUB 3 readers there yet. They exist, but not everybody has access to them, and they're hard to find. That's the only reason it's not become total everywhere yet, which is a shame. But I'm sure they're catching up. Just like with everything else, it's just going to take a while, and the developers will come up with better readers for EPUB 3. Because yeah, EPUB 3 allows you to have much more scalable graphics and fancy things in HTML that you, like right now in EPUB 2, you kind of have to do some funny workarounds to get certain things to look a certain way and stuff. But now that I'm done with this, I'm actually going to go back and look and see what type of, we need to update our list of recommended browsers and apps, because that's always changing. But that's a really good question. That question was the improvements to EPUB 3, is everything catching up to it, basically? Okay, sorry. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate you coming out. I really do. I know y'all have like food coma and it's like time to catch a flight and go home and stuff. I thank you guys. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much.